Have you ever wondered what could ignite a conflict so devastating that it would engulf the entire world in warfare? In the heart of Europe, in the summer of 1914, an event occurred that would forever alter the course of history. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a young Bosnian Serb, Gavrilo Princip, sparked a chain reaction of unprecedented magnitude. The Archduke's assassination was more than just a political murder. It was a catalyst, a spark in a tinderbox of tensions that had been building for years. Behind the scenes, a complex web of alliances and rivalries between the major powers of Europe had created a precarious balance of power. And this single act of violence was all it took to tip the scales. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, pointed the finger of blame at Serbia for the assassination. In retaliation, they issued an ultimatum so harsh that it was almost impossible for Serbia to comply. When Serbia failed to meet all of Austria-Hungary's demands, war was declared. But this was not just a war between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. The intricate alliances and treaties that crisscrossed the continent soon drew other nations into the conflict. Russia, bound by a treaty to protect Serbia, mobilized its army. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia. France, allied with Russia, was then pulled into the fight, and when Germany invaded neutral Belgium to outflank the French army, Britain, committed to defending Belgium, declared war on Germany. Within a matter of weeks, what started as a regional conflict in the Balkans had escalated into a full-scale war. Nations that once enjoyed peace now found themselves on opposing sides of a bloody conflict. And just like that, the world was plunged into what would become the first global conflict in human history. How did the war unfold on the battlefields? As the drums of war echoed across the globe, the Western Front was characterized by a unique form of warfare: trench warfare. This involved soldiers digging into the earth to create fortified positions with a network of trenches stretching from the English Channel to the Swiss frontier. This approach to warfare was largely a defensive one, a reaction to the deadly power of modern weaponry. The front lines were a scene of mud, blood, and the persistent stench of death, a testament to the grim realities of war. In stark contrast, the Eastern Front was a more fluid, dynamic battlefield. The vast expanse of the Russian plains saw large-scale maneuvers and sweeping movements, a far cry from the static trench lines of the West. Here, the war was not just about holding ground, but about mobility and flexibility. Germany, aiming to swiftly knock out France before turning on Russia, implemented the Schlieffen Plan. This involved invading France through neutral Belgium, a decision that ultimately brought Britain into the war. The German forces advanced rapidly, but the plan faltered at the Battle of the Marne, where the French and British forces halted the German offensive. This marked the beginning of the static trench warfare on the Western Front. The battles of Verdun and the Somme are etched into the annals of World War I history. Verdun, the longest battle of the war, was a brutal contest of attrition, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The Battle of the Somme was one of the bloodiest in human history, with over 1 million men killed or wounded. These battles symbolized the futile and indiscriminate slaughter that characterized the war. On the Eastern Front, the Battle of Tannenberg was a significant event. The German forces delivered a crushing blow to the Russian Second Army, capturing or killing the vast majority of the Russian soldiers. This victory boosted German morale and marked the beginning of a series of German successes on the Eastern Front. The front lines were a testament to the harsh realities of war, a battle of not just physical strength, but mental endurance. How did the war extend beyond Europe and become a truly global conflict? Let's delve into that. As the flames of war spread, it wasn't just Europe that was drawn into the fray. The Ottoman Empire, a significant power during the time, also got embroiled in the conflict. Allied with Germany and Austria-Hungary, the empire's strategic location bridging Europe, Asia and Africa added a new geographical dimension to the war. It opened up new fronts in the Middle East, North Africa and the Caucasus, making World War I a truly global conflict. Let's cross the Atlantic now to the United States. Initially, the US preferred to maintain its neutrality, but this changed with Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare, leading to the sinking of ships, including the Lusitania, resulting in American casualties. Additionally, the intercepted Zimmermann telegram, which proposed a military alliance between Germany and Mexico, further instigated the US to enter the war in 1917. This marked a significant turning point, as America's entry bolstered the Allies both economically and militarily, ultimately shifting the balance of power in their favor. Now let's turn our attention to Russia. The war was not kind to the Russian Empire. Already grappling with internal discontent and political upheaval, the economic strain of the war and military losses ignited the fuse of revolution. In 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution broke out, leading to the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II and the establishment of a communist government. Consequently, Russia exited the war to deal with its internal issues, signing the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with the Central Powers. This had profound implications as it allowed Germany to concentrate its forces on the Western Front. In essence, the tentacles of World War I reached far beyond the trenches of Europe. It pulled in nations from different corners of the globe, each with their own motivations and consequences. The war's reach extended to the Middle East, with the involvement of the Ottoman Empire brought the United States onto the global stage and precipitated one of the most significant political shifts in history in Russia. World War I was truly a global affair, impacting nations far and wide. How did this devastating conflict finally come to an end? As the war dragged on, the Central Powers found themselves in a state of disarray. Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire, all part of the Central Powers, began to collapse under the strain of the prolonged conflict. The Allied powers, having been bolstered by the entry of the United States in 1917, pushed back with renewed vigor. The tides of war began to turn. In November 1918, an armistice was signed, effectively ending the fighting on the Western Front. This was not so much a declaration of peace, but rather a ceasefire, a pause in the relentless carnage that had defined the past 4 years. But the end of the war did not bring immediate peace. Instead, it ushered in a period of intense political and social upheaval. The map of Europe, as we knew it, was redrawn. 4 great imperial dynasties fell. The Hohenzollerns in Germany, the Habsburgs in Austria, the Romanovs in Russia, and the Ottomans in Turkey. In their place, new nations were born, their borders drawn in the halls of power by victors of the war. This reshaping of the political landscape sowed the seeds for further conflict. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, placed the blame squarely on Germany and Austria-Hungary for the war and burdened them with heavy reparations. This punitive peace settlement stoked resentment and fueled nationalist sentiments, laying the groundwork for yet another devastating conflict, World War II. Yet amidst the chaos and the turbulence, there were glimmers of hope. The war had demonstrated the need for a global institution to maintain peace and prevent future wars. This led to the establishment of the League of Nations, a precursor to the United Nations we know today. The end of World War I marked not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a new world order. What was the human cost of World War I? A question that sends chills down the spine. The sheer scale of casualties is staggering and heart-wrenching. The total number of military and civilian casualties in World War I is estimated to be around 21.5 million. This includes approximately 8.5 million military deaths and an estimated 13 million civilian lives lost. This grim total was a direct result of new military technologies and the brutal trench warfare that characterized the conflict. The introduction of industrial warfare brought with it unprecedented levels of carnage and destruction. Machine guns, artillery, poison gas, and tanks transformed the battlefield into a landscape of death and despair. The trenches became a symbol of the war's futility and the colossal human sacrifice it demanded. This war, the Great War, was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. Its human cost was not just in the lives lost, but in the countless others forever scarred by the horrors they witnessed and the hardships they endured. In the end, the human cost of the Great War was a grim reminder of the devastating consequences of global conflict. So what are the key takeaways from World War I? Well, we've navigated the turbulent waters of the Great War, starting from the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand that sparked the conflict, to the bitter trench warfare that defined the Western and Eastern fronts. We've seen how this war wasn't confined to Europe, but had a global impact, pulling in nations from across the world and reshaping the geopolitical landscape. We've also journeyed through the end of the war, marked by the fall of empires and the signing of armistices. The aftermath left a world forever changed, setting the stage for even greater conflict in the decades to come. And let's not forget the human cost. The millions of lives lost, both military and civilian, a toll that's hard to comprehend even today. World War I, or the Great War, was a conflict that reshaped our world. It's a stark reminder of the devastation that global conflict can bring, and the lessons it has taught us are as relevant today as they were over a century ago. Don't forget to subscribe to Brainwave Trek for more insightful videos.